Hi, writers. Now that you have reached the end of your information book, you're probably trying to wrap it up. Here are a few ways you might do that. You might remind or summarize what you taught your readers in just a few sentences, not going into specific details or facts. That's what your chapters were for. Just giving them the big stuff. What did you teach them? What do you want them to know? Along those lines, you might work to highlight the big ideas, maybe even just saying them again and stating them again. For instance, if you think about Rotten and how this book is about how decomposition is actually a pretty good thing, you'd expect the ending to kind of highlight that big idea, as well as maybe remind you of the big stuff that it taught you along the way. In my book about cereal, I would probably want to remind you that there are so many cool things you can do with cereal, and I might just kind of summarize how you can make different desserts, snacks, crafts, and also find healthy options. Finally, you might want to call your readers into action. Maybe you ask them questions about what they'll do differently or what they'll do to eat more cereal or how they'll eat cereal, think of it differently. Maybe if your topic is on an issue, you'll ask them to get involved. If it's on an activity, maybe you'll ask them to try it. Let's just read the ending right now for our mentor text, Rotten, and see how she ends. This might give you some ideas. Her ending is called The Beginning. Ocean or forest, desert or garden, high on a mountaintop or buried in a landfill, deep in the wilderness, deep in the compost pile, or deep inside your stomach. Doesn't matter where on planet Earth you go, decomposition happens everywhere. It's nature's way of endlessly turning the old into new. Rotting isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning. So when you smell that familiar odor, unplug your nose and breathe deep. The smell of rotten is a sweet scent of life. Are you noticing how she reminds you of what she taught you about? Like how decomposition or rot, kind of like it's everywhere. That's what a lot of these chapters are about. It's everywhere. But not only that, she highlights the big idea, which is that it's really important. It's something that we actually need. In fact, it's the beginning. In order for nature to recreate, it needs to also be able to decompose and to break down, or it has to. And then finally, she kind of calls you into action to think of it differently, smell it differently. She really hits these three things pretty clearly and nicely in a concise way. And I like also how she's appealing to you directly, the reader. She's making sure that you still feel included and a part of this information book. I feel that way anyway. So that's an example of how you might end your book and following some of these tips to help you do that. Other things to think about while you're reaching the end. Now, this is also posted to our Padlet, so if you want to see examples, you might have a glossary of definitions, things that you define in your text, additional notes, a bibliography of sources, things to keep in mind if you might want to go above and beyond and get really fancy. I can't wait to see what you do. Remember to leave us with that big important stuff. Enjoy.